When you think of a dangerous activity, you probably think about UFC, swimming with sharks, parkour, etc. While that makes sense, what you should think about is driving. Car accidents account for 1/3 of all deaths in the 15 to 24 age group. If that statistic spooks you, then listen up because here's 10 tips that can save your life. Number 10. No upbeat music. Israeli scientists conducted an interesting study that looked at how different kinds of music affect driving ability. They connected test subjects to heart monitors and had them drive in a driving simulator, while they listened to various musical styles. A control group that didn't listen to music experienced lots of heart rate fluctuations while they drove. For instance, their heart rate would spike if they had to brake really fast. But subjects who were listening to music had level heart rates. This may make you think that listening to music is therefore better for driving, but the group that listened to music actually did worse in the simulator and made more mistakes. They weren't as focused. Your heart rate should change in response to external stimulus. It just means that you're paying attention. The worst music for driving proved to be high-tempo music between 120 and 140 beats per minute, which is the range that most EDM and techno falls into. Drivers listening to this music drove through twice as many red lights and got into twice as many accidents. Following this logic, if you must play music, something like drone metal would likely be the safest, as it typically has only 10 to 30 beats per minute. Number 9. Don't speed. Okay, this one's obvious, but listen up, because I'm going to put its importance into perspective so you can visualize just how important it is. The reality is that speeding is the cause of about 1/3 of all fatal car crashes. Speeding makes you more likely to get in a car crash, and it makes it way more likely that a crash will be your last. But YouTube video, I'm always in such a hurry that I just have to speed. You might be thinking to yourself, not only is this a bad excuse because of how dangerous speeding is, it's also stupid because in reality, speeding doesn't save you very much time. Traffic analysts have studied speeding and shown that due to the way the flow of traffic corresponds with traffic lights and congestion, speeding barely saves you any time at all. The safest thing to do is to use the 2-second rule. 2 seconds should always pass between the back of the car in front of you passing an object and the front of your car passing it. Number 8. Snow driving. The Federal Highway Administration reports that 22% of all car accidents are weather-related. Should you start to slide on ice, resist the urge to hit the brakes, as all this will do is cause you to fishtail and lose even more control. Instead, just take your foot off the accelerator and steer in the direction you want to go. You'll start to self-correct. Accelerate gently so that your wheels will get moving again and give you some traction. If you have to brake, brake as gently as you can. The normal 2-second rule should also be extended to the 10-second rule because of how much harder it is to stop in the snow. You should also avoid trying to power up hills. If you have to go up a hill, get inertia going before you start going up and try to let it carry you to the top. Finally, if you don't have to drive in the snow, then don't. Even if you're a master snow driver, not everyone else is. Number 7. Defensive driving. Taking a defensive driving course can actually save you money on your car insurance, and it can even get points removed from your driving records in some cases. They contain all sorts of information that you didn't learn to get your license, such as how to eyeball the distance between yourself and the vehicle ahead based on your speed, crash prevention techniques, and how many drinks can impair you. Some would even teach you how to handle a tire blowout. Your immediate response to brake is actually the opposite of what you want to do. Braking will likely result in you fishtailing towards the blown-out tire. In a blowout situation, you're actually supposed to hit the gas slightly. Squeeze the pedal firmly for a couple of seconds to regain control. Number 6. Hand and mirror positions. You probably learned that when driving, your hand should be kept at 10 and 2 o'clock positions. In the last few years, however, the guidelines have changed, and now it's recommended that you keep your hands at either 9 and 3 or 8 and 4. These positions give you more control and greater stability, because the further vertical distance between your hands makes turning easier. There are also more ergonomic positions, which can make a big difference if you're driving for a long time. Having more control instantly makes you a slightly better driver. Your hands aren't the only thing that may be in the wrong position though. Many drivers also have incorrectly positioned mirrors. You might have heard that it's best to have your doors visible in your mirrors, but in reality, it's best to have them angled so far out that the side of the mirror just barely overlaps with the rearview mirror. This is the best way to negate a car's blind spots without needing one of those fancy cars that has a blind spot warning system. There's also a safest way to position your seat's headrest, less than 6 centimeters below the top of the head, and the distance between the back of your head and the restraint should be as small as possible. Number 5. Night driving. Despite the fact that there are 60% less cars on the road than there are during the day, 40% of fatal accidents occur at night. To make night driving safer, consider cleaning your headlights with a kit that you can buy at any auto parts store. Also, in order to avoid being blinded by the lights of oncoming traffic, focus on the white line of the road instead. To avoid highway fatigue, try to keep your eyes moving while still keeping them on the road, rather than just staring straight. If you're feeling tired and cannot switch out for another driver, the only proven way to reduce the risk of fatigue in the short term is to drink 2 strong coffees and to have a short nap for 15 minutes. You should also drive further behind people at night, both to give them more time to react in the dark and to avoid blinding them with your headlights. Number 4. Zipper merging and headlights. Lane merging is the worst. It causes traffic, accidents, and you to shout obscenities at people you will never meet. In reality, the most optimal way of merging would be for everyone to zipper merge, alternating one car from each lane. A car from your lane goes, a car from the other lane goes, and so on. If everyone could get on the same page for this one, it would legitimately help traffic a lot. Another thing we should apparently all be doing is having our headlights on at all times. According to one study, it can reduce your chances of being in an accident by 32%. Think about it. How could having 2 bright signals on your car all the time not be helpful? In fact, in Canada, Sweden, and Finland, new cars are required to have automatic running lights that stay on at all times. Number 3. Polarized sunglasses. You may have heard the internet rumor from back in the day that wearing sunglasses in the rain will improve your visibility while driving. While it won't help if there's an absolute downpour, in which case you probably shouldn't be driving anyway, wearing polarized sunglasses will help you see more clearly during light and moderate rainfall. The key here are polarized lenses. Other sunglasses will just make your problems worse. This is because polarized lenses block horizontal components of scattered or reflected light, meaning that they can counteract the scattering of light that results from rain, thus making your vision clearer. Polarized lenses can also help during moderate fog and mist. However, for obvious reasons, sunglasses will absolutely not help you at night, even if it's raining, and neither will very dark shades. Number 2. Google Street View. Yes, Google Street View is great for looking at random pictures of people waving at the camera, as well as virtually walking down cool-looking streets in Japan. But shockingly, it also has many legitimate uses that can help you on your journey. It's also a good way to check out tricky intersections that you've never been to before. Take a virtual drive and save yourself the wrong turn that accidentally sends you down a suburban street and adds 10 minutes of unnecessary driving to your trip. Street View can also be used to find out the addresses of places that you only know the vague area of. Go on Street View, find the actual street name, and then you can just plug that into whatever navigation app you use. Google Maps really has all sorts of helpful features. You can add stops on your phone, hold the blue button to start navigation straight away, and even use voice command instead of having to type out the address. Number 1. Distracted driving. According to a study in 2010, 1 out of every 6 fatal car crashes involved a drowsy driver. Lack of sleep can seriously impair your ability to safely drive. Being too tired, being on new medication, and even having a really bad cold are all totally legitimate reasons to find some other way of getting to your destination. Texting while you drive is perhaps even more dangerous, and unlike just being tired, it's also illegal. But cell phones aren't the only distraction. Eating, paying too much attention to the radio dials, or talking too much with a passenger are also things that can be just as bad as texting, since they all take your attention off the road and your hands off the wheel. Similarly, not knowing where you're going can be a potentially dangerous distraction, so check out directions online beforehand. Do you know anyone who